One, September 5, 2025, the number one asshole, Doc Ellis. I got this proof that I'm the number one asshole for my sweet wife. There you go. So I have proof that I am. But I'm your asshole. Okay. Uh, this is from James. Uh, he's a disabled veteran. His son-in-law, Gulf War veteran, 82nd Airborne, hasn't been able to work for several years. Heart, several other conditions. They called the office. We charge $500 for neck support, $300 if you want a DBQ, which is it's a wise thing, and it would probably be about $4,000. Okay, can't afford that much. Understand? So what I want you to do, you call the office and say that you were on the webinar today, and Doc Ellis wants to talk to you personally, and we'll see if we can do a couple, and then you step ladder up, and go with it. If he's not working, we do the first one, and we also add individual unemployability, which would be a big thing, and we can do that one just for free. We'll throw that in, and we'll talk about see if we can't work out a way that you can do this. So I have to pay people, but anyway, so we want to do it. All right, so that's an easy one. So let's walk you through it. I want people to at least come up with the $500 or $800 for the one. You got to have skin in the game. I don't want you to give up. It's easy to give up, and so I demand, especially if you don't have any money, that you come up with it. But I don't need $4,000 up front. But you do need to have skin in the game. And then as you get one done, so what we'll do, you'll come in, or we'll do say 4 or 5 conditions, and then release one at a time. And the higher percentages is one at a time, and then you get some more money to release the next one, release the next one. Okay. If I was doing it just myself, okay, but I do it free, but I got to pay people. Okay, all right. Michael. From Texas. He's been asking, how long does it take to get an appointment with you? I've submitted my packet in March, still haven't received a call for an appointment. You've had several phone calls. What you're wanting is a scheduled award, which is different than an appointment. Now, appointments for treatment and forms, those are automatic. That's quickly, okay? But scheduled awards, we're booked up. I mean, we're booked up into March, all right? So pray that some investor will come in and bring us investment capital, but more of that administration so that we can hire more people and train them. Doug, who's our CRO, just did an AI research of people doing scheduled awards, and they found 80 of them that do it, but it's always, we're being trained. So, and it's going to be a while. Okay, and check AI, see if there's anybody else out there do it. And it doesn't hurt our feelings. We're booked up with now, what you can do, get anybody to do the first one. You really want a schedule award here because we're the only, obviously we're the only ones doing it all, it looks like. But in the scheduled award, which is an impairment rating for federal workers' comp, you also need to know the Federal Employment Compensation Act bulletins. For instance, the American Medical Association guides the evaluation of permanent impairment. By the way, AMA, time to get kicked in the ass again. In January of this year, the Department of Labor came out with a notice that going from the 5th edition to the 6th edition since 2009 has cost injured federal employees under federal workers' comp almost $1 billion, $900 million. That's how corrupt this is, AMA. It's corrupt. These people are whores. Sue me, and let's go to court, and I'll prove you're a whore. I mean, I've been doing seminars forever about the difference between this and that. Over 40% for the upper extremities gone. Same thing in the lower extremities. There is no excuse for that. Damn it! This guy does work just for insurance companies. AMA, pull your head ass and get somebody down here so I can tell you what to do. You're supposed to be ethical, and that's unethical. Okay. But so anyway, so get a scheduled award and then come back. For instance, the book, the AMA guide says that if you have a rotator cuff tear shoulder surgery, a labrum surgery, and a biceps tendon surgery, you can only rate one of them. Now you hear that? You had 3 different types of surgeries. You can only rate one. And I'm at the meeting put on by these guys. Okay, now this is Nerdville, okay? And I said, guys, I've got to go back to Oklahoma and get the Supreme Court to accept the 6th edition, and I got to do that with that kind of crap. So if I got triplets and one has 1 surgery, one has 2, one has 3, you only get 1 surgery. How do you sleep at night? Well, we need to get on this. I need to come over to this table and beat the shit out of you, so you sue me and we get this to public forum. I don't care if I go to jail. I got saved when I was 31. I thought it'd be burned at stake. Anything less is no problem. So I'm on a war path because this is wrong. So, but anyway, get it done. Then you come back. You repeat your schedule ward every year. This is done. And then let's say you got 15, then it goes to 20. You get the other 5%. Now, by the same token, let's say you're 20, and you got better, and it dropped down to 15%. You don't send it in, and you don't pay it back even if you did. It's very, very fair, and I'm sorry, there's just nobody that knows how to do this stuff. First of all, over 50% of litigation requires a doctor's report. We have no training in legal medicine. Okay, so okay, all right. Now, okay, that's Mr. Michael. We heard for you. All right. And in fact, after this, I'll give you a personal call and we'll talk about it. You're on the log. You're ready, you know. But we'd like to do it before the Lord returns. Okay. Now here's Mike Michelle. This is Federal Works Comp, my adjuster, and send me for a second opinion, even after I've received a scheduled award. You did my impairment rating. My case is still open. Found out that I have a cyst in my wrist where I had a carpal tunnel surgery, and I'm getting more numbness in my right hand and into my neck. Now, so how do you prepare? Just tell the truth. Now, you'll be surprised what you tell and what comes up in the report. I would recommend that when you go, you turn on your cell phone to record. You can't use that in court against them, but it'll remind you what was said. It'll also give you how much time you're in there. Now, there are a lot of good second opinions that do a really good report. They follow the book and everything, and did that. But some of them, they get paid a lot more than I do being a second opinion. And there's a bias against the injured litigant, and they may think they need to screw you so they can keep getting business. And it depends on your claims examiner. That may be true. Okay. So just tell the truth. Okay. This is Barry. Okay, now, Barry, you need to call and cancel. I'm going to Ellis Clinic next year for my impairment rating, having my ulnar nerve surgery next Friday. Okay, no. So make sure it's a year after your surgery. You don't have to. So make sure your appointment's a year after your surgery. You have to wait a year if you have a nerve surgery before you can have a scheduled award. But do it close to that year as you can. You don't want to do it 5 years later. Do it when it's still bad. All right. And this is Juan. An excess resource for VA disability compensation claims. Granted service connections appealed to the BVA in Washington, D.C. Granted denials from local BVA regional office. It was all based on Dr. Ellis next door. Oh, there's just a salute you made. Thank you very much for the salute. Yeah, you can just Google VA appeals and the word Ellis. And you'll see that many times they say, we like Dr. Ellis' report, and we're going to, based on Dr. Ellis's report, remand, start over and overcome it. Because some people don't know how to do this stuff. And okay, there. This is an OWC reconsideration, that's Federal Workers' Comp, an appeal of the written record decided by an FCEA employee other than the claims examiner. The claims examiner can do it. The senior claims examiner can do it. A district medical advisor may recommend it, but the claims examiner eventually makes that decision. The claims examiner only needs a 12th grade education. You don't get to know their full name. You're lucky if you can even read the first name. They send you a QR code, and sometimes you can read it and everything. And have no training in medicine and no training in law. and they're just out there pontificating, and nobody gets slapped the wrist. Some of the things I've seen from these people, if an insurance company did it, it'd be a $40 million bad faith punitive damages, slap on the wrist. But that's what you're dealing with. People that don't know what they're doing. And you're dealing with, you need to understand, a bias against anybody who files a claim. Okay? When I started doing legal medicine 100 years ago, I thought 60% of my patients be honest and 40% be kind of flaky. That makes me amongst normal doctors, pro-injured person. Now, to get in here is a pain, so it probably weeds a lot of people out. And I've seen some fakes in the past, but not like what we think. Allstate ran an ad for months and months and months. We fight fake car wreck claims to keep your car insurance premiums down. Buy Allstate. I fell out of my recliner laughing. I thought that was I thought I was Saturday Night Live joke. My God. Hey, buy insurance and we promise to fight you. That's what it says. And who's going to determine if you're lying? An insurance company? They don't fire the people that put that ad together and the board that had that ad? No, because it worked. Because people think everybody's faking. And I understand, my transcriptionist, RN, registered nurse, paralegal, and then also does the typing. So you can imagine when I dictate and she does reports, wow, okay. Anyway, she's getting carpal tunnel. Now I teach ergonomics and all that stuff. So I got her keyboard that split and had a program right that I would lock her computer up every 30 minutes, say, Vicki, take a 5-minute break. Well, she's an Okie. She's a hard worker. She kept working. She gets carpal tunnel. I said, Vicki, you've got to file state works comp claim. What do I want to? Vicki, you and I are Christians. The emperor says you have to file it. Is this not, I made these bet, I made these policy. You do it. But what was fascinating is my emotional response for my emotional brain. When I see Vicki come to work, my emotional brain would go, I wish she'd go away. Paralegal, RN, and transcriptionist, and that's a thought in my brain instead of, thank you, Lord, for this lady. That's the emotional. Now, let's say she had carpal tunnel from a tornado. Need some time off, need a new keyboard, need a brace, but workers' comp means fault. Has anybody ever said it's my fault? No. So you have a bias all the time. That's why many VAs get turned down the first time. A lot of vets quit, and a lot of people don't even file federal because it's a zoo. Because there's that subconscious bias of nice people. They don't even know they have it. At least if you're a KKK member, you know you're a bigot. But a lot of these people are bigoted towards people who file claims and don't know they are, which is really dangerous. Okay, any questions online?
Doc, I think you skipped Nancy, number 6.
Oh, number 6, okay, good. I can't read.
Bottom of the last page, there you go.
There's 6, okay. Thank you, Dr. Ellis. I think you can help Nexus letter and maybe DBQ. Sure you do. Sure, just go to ellisclinic.com, click appointments, fill out the forms, and we'll schedule for a VA exam and do a Nexus letter and a DBQ. Now, DBQs are voluntary, but I recommend them. Think about it. You're a rater, like in Muskogee or Waco or St. Louis, and you've got a 4 or 5 page narrative Nexus letter and the DBQ. Well, you could kind of know the Nexus letter is going to cover your fanny. It's going to tell everything in great detail, so that your rater can go, I'll just go by the DBQ, and it is quick and dirty and gets it done. So it's worth that $300. Which, by the way, we did an AI search in August. We were the lowest. We're the cheapest in the nation. The lowest they put on there, that's us. Okay, which could be free. But, so anyway, yeah. So come on in, get your Nexus for it. We can do those. Okay.
All right, we have a comment here from Melissa on YouTube. Hey Doc, OWCP, I have rotator cuff surgery, and on the list for the award it doesn't say shoulder. So what body part will I use for the award calculation?
You use arm. Let me show you. You may not be able to see it on TV, but So here we have the list. And on ellisclinic.com, under federal works on, there's a calculator. So an arm is 312 weeks. So you have a 50% impairment of the arm, you have half of 312 times, depending on either 75% or 68% of your salary until that runs out. Okay, but it's calculators on ellisclinic.com. You can look it up. Now, if it was just the hand, you could do a hand, and a hand is 244 weeks, but the shoulder is the arm. And what's the scheduled award? In 2016, not 1916, when the first worker comp was federal, you got a cut off arm, cut off leg, so an amputation. There was a schedule. So, for instance, they've not updated that. So, in any other system, like any of the AMA books, let's say you had a neck surgery and a rod and surgery, and you had nerve down your arm, you'd rate this type of surgery, that whatever happened to the bone, or you'd rate the range of motion, and you rate the nerve, and you mix them all together and come up with a number. In federal, there's not a schedule award for a heart or a brain or a spine, because it wasn't in the original, which is mostly amputated limbs. And also, you don't need a heart or a brain or a spine to work for the federal government. No, I bet that I'm just being obnoxious. I really get teed off at people that knock our federal unions. Okay, I've been doing seminars for the unions for 100 years. They're hardworking people. It's their own fault they get carpal tunnel. Well, I guess I'll go see the doctor. If they'd slept off, they wouldn't be in my office. But they're hardworking people and good people, and I appreciate them a lot. And when people knock them and they're unions, I get pissed. Okay.
All right, we've got a question from Sherman on YouTube. You do prostate cancer and mental health.
Yeah, I'd be upset if I had prostate cancer. Yeah, of course. And I assume that's for VA.
There's no clarifying.
Yeah, yeah. It would be a VA claim.
No,
It's probably prostate cancer, from Agent Orange or other exposures. There may be other chemicals that we can tie in, but there's some presumptive stuff.
Talk about presumptive conditions.
Yeah, presumptive. Okay. So Vietnam, 55-gallon drums of dioxin, herbicides, and people are in there, and everything. And so eventually they did enough studies to show there's certain things that are caused by herbicides, dioxin, and the cancers like prostate cancer and a lot of things. And those became presumptive. In other words, if you were within 3 miles of Vietnam during the war in a ship, or if you stepped 1 foot in Vietnam for 1 minute, then all that's presumptive. And so if you did get prostate cancer in the future, then that's going to be service-connected. Well, that's not science, that's politics. Good politics. To make sure we don't lose anybody, we include everybody. Now, so for years, burn pits, obviously a burn pit, think about it. We're burning jet fuel. We're making a chem lab of burnt jet fuel, hydrocarbons. We're going to make carcinogenic stuff. We're going to hurt lungs. Lungs can't handle oil. They can handle smoke. You got to smoke cigarettes a long time before you get lung problems. But you can't handle a little bit of oil, the hydrocarbons, okay? So then finally they get enough data, epidemiological data, with all the chi-squares to show that burn pits do cause that. And now a lot of burn pit exposures are presumptive. But in the meantime, during all those years, I would explain, because I'm writing to a rater in VA who doesn't have any medical training and no legal training, and explain in English that if you had a child and they drank some jet fuel, you let it go through. You would not give them ipecac and make them throw up, because just the whiff of a hydrocarbon hurts the lungs. Now, you can have a whiff of cigarettes and not going to bother you at all. And so hydrocarbons are really bad on the lungs. So when the guys are in the Gulf War and you see all the oil wells burning, they're greasy all the time, inhaling all that, they're going to have a lot of lung disease. And now teenagers, if that's true, and it is true that hydrocarbons are bad for the lungs, vaping's probably going to end up being worse than the cigarette smoking. So, if you're a vapor, make good grades, go to law school so you can see all these vape companies. They're giving you hydrocarbons with a very addictive drug in it called nicotine. It's more addictive than anything. Well, no, maybe sugar is. I can't get off sugar. But anyway, and you sue these assholes putting this out. Okay? They're drug cartels, and they live in nice homes.
Right, we have here regarding Sherman, talking about prostate cancer and all, Nexus letter, so it was VA.
Yeah. You get a Nexus letter. And also, we'll cite, if we did it, we'd cite the presumption, and then we'd cite a couple articles on top of it, just beat it to death.
We have one here from Melissa Page. She says, "Thank you, Doc. Why is it you can't receive an award while you're receiving the workers' comp or WCP payments?"
You can. Well, let's say you're on workers' comp, temporary total disability, and you're getting, if you have dependents, spouse, or something, you're getting 75% of your pay tax-free. If you're single, you get 68%, okay? So, let's say you're getting that. Let's say you found out you've got cancer, you'll be dead in 6 months, or your kid needs something to go to college. Well, you can take a lump sum settlement. Now, you pay a 4% penalty, but you get that lump sum all at once, and then you get back on workers' comp. Now, it's not easy to go from being on that and getting back on workers' comp. You can imagine you may starve to death in that interval. So this is the case of ladies on workers' comp. She's going to be on workers' comp until she dies. So she never really, because she can't do the job when she's hired, and anyway. And the attorney sends her here for a scheduled award. I said, ma'am, obviously you're eligible for a scheduled award, but if you do that, to be the same amount on your check, because you can't tell if it's for a scheduled award or was your workers' comp temporary total disability. But as soon as that runs out, your check's going to stop. Well, my attorney said we'd get back on temporary total disability. So I know that's the attorney of the lying son of a bitch. So I called him. Normally, and I called him, I said, have you ever done that before? Well, no. Okay, so because he wants the schedule award so he can get 20%. I understand, that's reasonable. Instead of a little bit of each month. Okay? I would like to get a lump sum. Okay, that makes sense, that's okay. Okay, so you've never done it before. So if you will give her an interest-free loan that you'll pay her that amount every month until it gets restarted, and you don't get reimbursed for that, then I'll do this. Otherwise, I want you to refund her payment and 20% interest, and I want you to write the check today. And he starts pulling the bullshit. I said, you're talking to a professor of occupational legal medicine. I teach in law schools, asshole. Read my curriculum vitae. She's going to get a letter from me about this legal malpractice and recommending a bar complaint. Do you want to play with that? Is that worth your $2,000? Well, now, I don't care if your house is on fire and your wife's having a baby. If it's not postmarked by midnight today, she's getting a letter. Damn! No wonder people don't like attorneys. But, my attorneys, if you're listening to this, you're not going to hear this from another MD, DO the rest of your life. I love attorneys. I love the law. I love our judicial system. This is the best judicial system that's ever been done. Now, we screw up all the time, but that's okay. It's still the best there is. Any other questions?
Yeah, we've got one here from Jorge Ortiz on YouTube. Is it normal to get a second opinion after medical advisor, DOL, agrees with your scheduled award report?
Unfortunately, it's not normal, but it's common. It's abnormal. That's just crazy. Paying a guy $5,000 for another opinion. Oh, Lordy.
I don't know what they use that process for in that scope.
Well, it depends on your claims examiner. Sometimes claims examiners feel like it's coming out of their own pocket. And they just want to fight you, and they think like they're doing the thing for God, and they're wrong. But it's crazy. But now there are a lot of district medical advisors that are really, really good, and they really know the AMA guides in edition, and they follow it to the T. Now, even though it's not fair, it's better than what we had before, which was general. So you might get a 20%, some would give you a 5. It's general. Here, we're talking about nuances. For instance, I did a shoulder, rated it 18%, and then incorrectly multiplied by a 10% factor to make it 18 plus 1.8 is 20. The district medical officer said, no, it's a 5% factor. So it went from 20 to 19, but it didn't go from 20 to 5. Even though the book is wrong, but you can't. But district medical advisors really know this stuff. It's just great. And now some of them don't and don't want to learn, but most of the ones we have really know this stuff, do it well. It's nitpicky, nerdville, but they're doing it. And so if we're all following the same book, at least we got something to go by. It should go back to the 5th, but can't, even though the Department of Labor showed that, because you have to. The law is you got to follow the latest one. And in federal workers' comp, they don't even balance the budget, much less go back and say, obviously heart, brains, and spine should be covered in federal workers' comp. That's not going to happen in my lifetime. But let's say you have a little teeny disc in your neck and it goes down to this nerve, and you could have a lot of impairment in that arm. But you could also have a fused neck with rods. You can't bend it, and you can't sleep, and you have to sit up in a chair to sleep, and no impairment down, no nerve down your arm. You have 0% impairment. Okay.
So, Melissa on YouTube followed up with, they rated me at 12%. I feel like the rating doctor was not even listening to me.
Probably wasn't. But he may have also known the stuff. Okay. And think, and how sad to do that kind of work and not enjoy it. How sad to not like patients. How sad. Because, doctors started off knowing they're going to get sued a bunch of time. It makes them really kind of try to get a shell to protect themselves from patients. And how sad not to say, let's help out. Sad for the doctor. He probably wasn't listening, but it may be the correct, it may have been the correct, okay?
Let's talk about the process from start and to acceptance, or even the branches that goes off in whenever you get denials. What are the processes?
And this could be federal or VA.
Yeah.
Okay, so VA, you file, you go get a Nexus report, you get your records together. And don't send your records in by themselves. You need a narrative report. You need a Nexus report. You need a doctor explaining to a layperson how this is that, and in English, and put it together and just walk it through. So that person, if they do accept it, they're not going to get jumped on by their supervisor, who has the bias, their supervisor has the bias. Okay? So okay. Now, in federal, you get your records together. You come in. You see a doctor. He gets it approved as work-related, and then you get treatment, and he helps direct the treatment, and then we get all your records yet, and then he does an impairment rating under the AMA guides, or send you somebody else that does it.
So let's go further, because you talked about the difficulty with raters who have a 12th grade education, and specifically what your clinic does to not necessarily nudge them in the right direction, but make them do the work.
Okay. Now, the raters with the 12th grade education, the VA raters, I don't know what their education requirements are, okay? But the claims examiners, the book says they only need a high school education. Now, probably most of them have more than a high school education, I mean, but that's the requirement. Sometimes I see some of the knowledge and go, God, they didn't get a GED. But most of the stuff, the majority of the stuff is good. Now, I'm going to see the bad. So I'm seeing the end of the bell curve. I'm not seeing the general. So I'm going to see the people being screwed. And so I'm going to be biased and thinking that everybody's biased, okay?
So, talk specifically about the situation where Paige sent a letter to them that made them take action.
Oh, God, Paige.
And this is why you are a champion for these people.
No, Paige is not me. I'm just an old fart. We would ask, and this is federal, we'd ask, now, you have many appeals cases, So you get denied or lowballed or whatever, and then you can ask for reconsideration, or you can ask for review of the records, or you can ask for an oral hearing. Now let me tell you something. I have done 1,590 trial testimonies, and oral hearing would be a trial testimony. A video and here would be a trial testimony, live would be a trial testimony. My testimony has never lost a case. Let that soak in for a little bit. So doctors, lawyers, admin chiefs, you need to get your ass in here and let me teach you before I die. Anyway, and when I've gone to federal criminal court every time, so far, not only have I won, but the judges threatened the prosecutor, it's usually a guy, and two pretty blondes. I used to think that the Department of Justice was an unequal opportunity employer. Up until 2009, I had about every 3 or 4 months, I'd have a pretty blonde attorney. Department of Justice come in. They were all blonde and very attractive. It wasn't race. They're all colors, brown, green, yellow, but they're blondes. I never saw a brunette and never saw anybody ugly. And to intimidate me, stop doing federal work, no paperwork, but intimidation. It's called racketeering. Okay? What the mafia does, okay? That's what my government does, and I'd send them home tail between the legs. Anyway, that stopped in 2009. I went to court and scared them. Okay. So there are a lot of people that love me, and a lot of people hate me, and I love the people who hate me better because that sends me more business. Okay? Because I don't mind if you kill me. I don't care if you burn the stake. Jesus reads my report. I don't care what anybody else says. Okay? All right. No fear. Sleep like a baby. But there's no one knows this. Over 50% of litigation requires a doctor's report. All we learn in medical school about legal medicine is that lawyers don't go to heaven. Yeah.
Melissa follows up on YouTube stating, it seems after getting Schedule War, they give you hell to get back pay on WCP monthly payments.
Absolutely. Ask for an oral hearing.
All right, what's the procedure?
Okay, so, in fact, do I have it here? Okay, Paige just gave me one. They'd done that, and you get to send an e-comp. That's how you send things to the government. And now, we are not your we're not your lawyer, but we'll help you word your stuff, and got it all done. I mean, we're talking about megabucks done. Finally get someone's attention, because we were threatened to do an oral hearing. They so I better look it up. It's Ellis, he's gonna do an oral hearing, I don't want somebody to jump, so I missed that tip, you've tried to bring me that. So here's the case, we had asked for an oral hearing, they initially balk, and then the letter comes in, or an email comes in, not needed, all the things you requested have been approved. Now, it may take about 5 days, maybe a week. So this is a slip and fall, contused elbow, strained neck are approved. Now, on the emergency report, there's some bruises, including one on the hip and, of course, on the elbow and 2 other places. That in of itself, if you had that fall 50 years ago and had a bruise on that hip and later that you had problems with your hip, that's enough in federal and VA to make that federal and VA related. It wouldn't be in state workers' comp, certainly wouldn't be in personal injury. But in those laws, which are very, 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 very fair, there would be enough. But just to be safe, we help the employee send an e-comp in. You forgot to mention the 4 bruises on the emergency room report, because we see them 6 months later. We're not the treating doctor. And of course, the claims examiner ignored it. Then another ignored it, and then we help the person file an e-comp. You're supposed to, a claims examiner is supposed to reply to a written record within 30 days. Now let's give these claims examiners a little love. Can you imagine the records are just dumped in there? If you're seeing me, my staff goes through their department, gets the chart on the perfect injury. How do they do more than one claim a day? It's amazing, okay? Okay, you can imagine their workload. So a lot of times they just, okay. So the deal is says, I sent a report that a content on that date. You didn't reply by this date, which is 30 days. The second time, this is the third time. If I do not get a response by the due date, which is this date, I'm threatening, not asking for, ask for an oral hearing. Now, when we ask for an oral hearing, it takes a week to 10 days. this is on January 11th, January 12th, the claims examiner personally calls the guy and says, pull up your file, those 4 claims, those contusions are approved. Wow, that's Page's brain. I'm smarter than I am. And just I'm 83. Also, we've got staff here that knows this stuff better than I do now. Wow. So if I leave, but I won't leave till I'm 90.
We've got Jorge Ortiz again on YouTube. I was seen at Ellis Clinic for 2 schedule award reports. They were submitted to DOL. Medical advisor agreed with reports, even gave me a high percentage. Now claim examiner is sending me to a second opinion.
Yeah. And he'll get paid several $1,000s, and I get $460. Okay, so obviously, because we have the bias, he's going to have a propensity. Gee, I better lower this, or I won't get any more business. And it won't even be a direct thing. The VA fights a lot of stuff. It's not coming from the national headquarters. It's not coming from Washington, D.C. It's just part of the milieu of subconscious bias against injured litigants. Okay? And so you may get an honest one, you may not. But like you had said also, second opinion raised it. Raised it higher than mine. Yeah.
But the real bias in the claims examiner and sending it to another.
Of course. But now, but also it may have been the way to get it, she's got to get it done in 30 days, just get a second opinion. People get several second opinions. So this is this is a person is on workers' comp and gets 75% of his pay tax-free. Postal worker, 60 years old, a walker, hips, knees, and ankles. And the nurse case manager wants him on FERS, 40% taxable. Save post office a lot of money. I said, that's a good idea. But why would he do that? Well, you hired him under 1960 law. You're stuck with it. All right? Well, they sent him to 3 second opinions at $5,000 to $10,000 a pop, so that's $15,000 to $30,000 down the tubes. And they all said he could work. Yeah, I agree he can work. But since he gets to pick his doctor, and I'm the doctor, and since the word says I'm God, that's what it says, basically. My report's the only one they can go by as far as restrictions. You get to pick your doctor in federal workers' comp and in VA, okay, and your doctor should have more probative value than a hired gun at the VA. Okay. So anyway, and so I said, yes, you can. Here's his CA-17, all the restrictions. Well, says, we don't have that job, so he stays on it. And I got paid every time I did one of those. Wasted my tax dollars, but that's the game, and so we'll play it.
Well, it really raises a question about whether or not it should be codified for actions through tax dollars with malice.
Yes, it is, obviously. It's really just laziness. What malice? It's laziness. And because can you imagine your claims examiner, everybody hates you. Oh my God. Like an IRA, who wants that job? Wow.
Yeah.
Though I like paying taxes.
Yeah.
I like having roads and airplanes over me.
Melissa Pace, again. Okay, so if I go ahead and get award and then want to get back on monthly over and they deny, I ask for an oral hearing.
You get a doctor to write a report and then ask for an oral hearing, yeah. But it's going, you can imagine how long it's going to take. Because they can string you along forever.
And just to reiterate.
No, if an insurance judge did that, that's $50 million bad faith. You'd own them.
And just to reiterate, in this setting, the white coat is the only one that matters. And
The only one with real authority. And you get to pick your white coat.
that's something not a lot of people realize, especially, whether it be VA or, federal workers.
Yeah.
That they get to pick their own.
Yeah, you don't want to go to the VA and have a VA doctor write your nexus report. I have a doctor in Houston that does nexus reports, does a good job. There's several companies that the VA contracts out to. And he'll get letters of complaints that you're finding extra on their reports, more than what we just asked. Why is that a complaint? How come you don't get a gold star? I'm after Vietnam, flight service, and I'm taking internal medicine residency at Fort Lewis, Washington. The general and I are friends. We go to dinner together, shuck oysters at the beach house. Doc, we're getting more complaints about you than all the doctors in this section. You're finding more of the exit physicals. I'm just going, what the shit? I'm getting a complaint? Where's my damn badge? Where's my award? Where's my gold star for helping these vets find these things? So I said, General, did you get a call from Washington? Now I know what's happened. It's Top Sergeant. He's telling these kids, if you file for everything, I'm going to keep you an extra week. So get me, don't put anything on this exit, or I'm going to keep you an extra week. So they're all screwed. Now, why does he do that? Like it's coming out of his own pocket? And I'm sorry, folks, I'm just going to call it like this. He was a black man, and he was being bigoted against these retiring vets. Bullshit. Anyway, I said, General, did you get a call from Washington? No. Have you read the VA law? I said, General, let me tell you something. I'm the smartest son of a bitch you'll ever meet. I'm so damn smart, I didn't have to keep notes in medical school. I read the VA law. It's ridiculously wrong. It's so good, but that's the law, and I apply it. And Top Sergeant's asked his mind and told him what was going on. And I'm not going to change. Well, I don't want you to change. General, does it really matter what you want? Well, I guess not. He says, Top, I think you've opened a can of worms. So I said, Top, here are your new orders. I want you to empty these trash cans 4 times a day. And I'm looking through my window, I'm see you putting that dumpster right there. There, I don't know, 10, 12, 14 clerks. He's emptying air. They're taking the trash out. He's emptying air. Probably hurt my vets. He probably got madder and didn't change his opinion. But that's what you're dealing with. And now, if this is 1934 and you were a black man, it's gotten shit, and you were not surprised. I mean, it's terrible, awful what we've done. Yeah. But you're not surprised. But vets are surprised when they get screwed. Don't be surprised at the fire ordeal that comes upon you. Jesus didn't come down because I'm a nice guy. He came down because I'm the number one asshole.
Let's talk about the fact that a claim or a veteran can have on their family. And
Oh,
spouse.
okay. Yeah, it makes a big difference. Now, if you get, most people in the service, just from basic training, will get some ringing in their ears. That's 10%, and get that. Make sure you get that if you have ringing, okay? Because if you have ringing in your ears, that contributes to sleep apnea, which is 50%. It contributes to heart attack and strokes, and the widow can get a pension. Okay? So you get that. Fight it. Now, when you do your hearing test, they may deny it. No, if you've got a little dip in that, we want it accepted at 0%. Then as it gets worse, because even when you stop the noise exposure, it's going to continue to deteriorate. And so it may eventually, you go to the VA, get an audiogram, oops, you're 20%. Right?
All right, so let's talk about the benefits.
Benefits, okay, you get money. You get work, you get paid.
No, the spouse.
Oh, the spouse. Well, the spouse can get a pension, a widow's pension. Can you imagine the fun day I have when I get to help a widow get a pension? The guy had 10% for tinnitus or whatever, or filed a claim, hadn't got accepted. We'll get it. We'll retro get it accepted back then and paid for. That's a big chunk of change. And then we get her a widow pension. Man, that makes your day. Now I charge them $500. I'm not doing this for free. And yet I gift it off, because if you charge a widow, lightning would come through the ceiling. But what a fun day. But people don't know that. So don't give up. You're fighting for your family.
So let's talk about the federal side of fighting. In particular, we haven't touched in several webinars Charles' story.
Okay, Charles, postal employee worker, sorting and doing all that stuff inside the office in Amarillo. Chart's about this thick. He's had carpal tunnel, cubital tunnel, neck, back surgery, I don't know, a bunch of stuff. And he's getting all this. And so they video him lifting groceries out of his trunk and walking whatever it is to the house that dropped off to his daughter. And they're filing criminal charges, 5 years in jail, $250,000 fine, blah, 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 blah. And I get a call from the union rep in Amarillo. It sounds, and they're having an oral hearing. It sounds like I need to come to the oral hearing. How much? 2 days, $20,000 a pay, $10,000 a day. I'll come for free. So we get out there, and of course, we go to dinner with the union, and it's a vacation to me. And I'm sitting in the room with the judge, a big woman, a federal judge, now retired University of Texas law professor. This lady must have had a squeaky clean. Oh wow, what a judge she was. Okay, wow, just a sharp, knows her stuff. No, wow. What you proud? Now University of Texas law professor, University of Texas. You're very fortunate. Anyway, she's seen all her life, just like I did when I started doing legal medicine back in the 70s. The insurance company get this orthopedic surgeon writes 0% for an operated back with rods. The surgery made him well. That's just fraud, criminal fraud. Okay. Then another ambulance chasing the attorneys get a doctor to write 50% for everything. Neither one of them touched the patient. Both of them fraudulent. If you're doing legal medicine, you're a whore. You're getting paid by somebody, so you're a whore. You're either a nice whore or a bad whore. Okay. Anyway. So she's seen this all her life. And so she's sitting there with the body language and attitude. Dr. Ellis, what are you getting paid? Now, in federal court, I would have not been flippant. Because I'm not stupid. I went, I got a good steak last night. Now, don't you be flippant with me. Now, if I don't take over, this man's going to jail. And I'm telling you right now, there's not an attorney ever born to date that could have done what I did, and I can show you how to do this. What do? Law has two components, law school and medical school. Prefrontal cortex, hell, I'm a damn genius. And show business. Some people call it psychology. I call it show business. I looked at her, and I slowly got up, and I walked around the room, eye contact, and got right in her face where I couldn't focus. I said, ma'am, I'm a clinical associate professor of legal medicine. I've taken off 2 days. I'm paying all my own expenses. It's cost me over $5,000 a day. Well, last night the union bought me steaks, and they're damn sure going to buy me beers tonight. And I'm going to teach you the Federal Employment Compensation Act law, and I'm going to tell you the truth. And I don't care if hair lifts you or hair lifts him, and you put me in jail, because I'm not putting up with this shit. Now here's the union rep. Oh God, he's bipolar. He's crazy. My guy's going to jail. And she's sitting there, and of course, fire coming out of her ears. And you go, tell me what you think. And of course, you don't need. I let it in for 20 minutes. The attorney for the government and the supervisors never even raised their head, so I don't know if they even rise. And so they said when they left, she pointed and said, "You better settle this for lunch. You don't want my opinion." She gave it to him anyway and raked him over the coals. So I'm assuming the Amarillo supervisors think I'm the Antichrist. When I die, it'll be fate. It'll become mythology in North Texas. Doctors, I can show you how to do that. If you don't mind being killed, tortured, burned to the stake. But if those things scare you, don't do what I'm doing.
So the moral of that story
Is I love doing it. That's the moral. That's my hobby. There's no moral.
But with
I love war. God, I loved Vietnam. Mortars coming in, all the shit, the stuff that's eating. Oh God, I loved it. It's an adrenaline rush. And I hated it. Not 50-50, 100% loved it and 100% hated it. And thank God you did go to Vietnam so I can help my vets out. It got me started in this whole legal medicine deal. You understand, we're not puppets, but this has all been written down before he were born. There's a guy behind all this. There's a conspiracy. And it's a good guy that's head of this conspiracy, not the bad guy. But go with it, folks. You're in a war. You're fighting dishonesty. You're fighting for truth and justice, the American way. That's corny, but that's what we're for. And when our government doesn't do it, it bothers me. Now, if this Russian doing it to people, I wouldn't be so upset. But we're supposed to be the good guys. And then when we screw our federal patients, we employees and our vets, it pisses me off. And it should piss everybody off. I was in a barbershop a couple years ago. some old man's talking about all these vets falling for all this disability, blah, 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 blah. Like, God, I'm just getting madder and madder and madder and madder and madder. And I said, sir, you a doctor? No. Have you ever examined any of these people? No. I said, you know the VA law? I said, well, then you're full of shit. I said, these guys could have been on food stamps. Have you ever worked for somebody that could kill you? If you got a job at a desk job in Hawaii, they can still send you into harm's way and kill you. So you're gonna you're gonna tell them not to have this? You're out of line. Let's go outside and discuss this, or you keep your damn mouth shut around me. I'm so nice and patient.
I think so.
Any more questions?
We haven't had any questions, but if anyone wants to ask, we're in the last 10 minutes here.
We don't need to go 10 minutes.
Well, right.
These people need to listen to me all the time.
So, before we leave then, how do people get in touch with you? How do they set an appointment?
EllisClinic.com, and you click appointments. There are VA appointments, federal workers' comp, FERS, which are retirement appointments, Social Security, and some other appointments. I don't do personal injury anymore, and I don't do state workers anymore. I would focus only on federal and VA because there's no one doing it. Although I was the guru, and like when the State Medical Association put in an HMO, I was the head of the workers' comp division. When we put in the first certified workplace medical plan, first state to do it, I was the president, which was interesting. But a certified workplace medical plan is basically the ERISA HMO protection and workers' comp, which ought to screw the working man more than anything. And of course, I call all the insurance companies together. Now this is like Dracula calling the blood banks together. I cost all those insurance companies more than any 20 doctors, okay? I'm the big guru on workers' comp and personal injury. I'm their nemesis. I'm their antichrist, okay? So I call them, and they're all going to show up because they don't want to, and they're not going to share anything. No, I just want to keep it, close to this. And I said, and I realized what had happened. Folks, 49 states are watching what we're doing. This is an historic date. This is an important thing. If we can help employers and employees out and do it through this milieu and this new law, that'll be a great thing. And this is an important date. And I should have brought a painter, like signing the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution, or at least get a video of us. They made me the first president. I'm drunker than President Budley. Now, what was fascinating to me, did a lot of stuff, a lot of politics behind the scenes for good. I'm not going to do a second term. That power, and no one's going to know about it until I get to heaven. But the sense of power, that's a dangerous thing. I want out of this. I'm bad enough. I don't need power. Did it for good. So I understand politicians. I understand why they're, it's power. It's not fame. It's not money. It's power. We're apes. Yeah, we want to be the alpha male.
Well, all right, with that, we will be back next month on the first Friday
The Lord willing.
at 11 a.m. Go to askdocellis.com to submit your questions in advance. But thanks for joining us, and for everyone's delight, a picture of Doc in Vietnam.
Oh, really?
Have a great day.
What am I in the helicopter? What?
No, it's
Just run it with all my